Hello and welcome to a Jump Advisory Training Academy. Today we are looking at building and running a permanent desk in a downturn. If you can hear me, feel free to drop me a line and have a conversation from there. If you drop it in the chat box. Again, it's a very, very busy webinar as always. So let me just, as I go through everybody that's sort of on here, so I'm still waiting for somebody just to sort of drop on. Good, James Turvey, you can hear me. That's good. So say it's a very busy webinar. So let me just give you an idea of the people that are on. We've got Plum Personnel, we've got G2 Legal, we've got Recruit 12, we've got Westray, we've got Medical Wings, we've got First Choice, we have got Impact, we've got Hall Recruitment, we've got FJ Wilson, we have TTS 24/7, First Choice, we've got 300 North, we've got Tailor Made, we've got Aventus Legal, we've got JS Recruitment, we've got Mason Wakeford, we've got Athwol Resourcing, sorry. We have Bonbon Languages, SLR Recruitment, we have Experis, Cherry Professionals, Fairways, we have, who else have we got on here? Trio, Aventus, King Recruitment, we have all, I think it's pronounced Albemarle Consultant, and we have Change Recruitment and Invictus Group. So again, lots of people on and lots of people working. So let me sort of give you an idea and a background on this course so everyone could understand where this course has come from and what's going on. So in 2008, I'd just taken over large parts of the north of England, Scotland and Ireland, and inherited a large part of permanent business that I'd never sort of worked with. 2008 was obviously a big time for recession, and recession was biting really hard. And what I found when I started digging into the permanent people's business and desks, the desks weren't really built on very, very solid foundations. And because they weren't built on solid foundations, what I was finding is that we were missing lots of businesses, lots of business deals, should I say. And I had sort of situations where I had consultants with 20, 30 and 40 type roles on, but still only doing 1 or 2 placements a month. So it was really sort of strange that I couldn't sort of find out what was going on until I truly started to dig underneath what was happening. And what I generally found was they hadn't built a desk that was a desk to last. And I always think that during recession times, you know, I had my best years as a recruiter in recession times, not because I was better than anybody else. I think it was because I was more planned than everybody else. And I always made sure that I had business coming through my, business coming through my pipeline constantly to ensure that my pipeline was never empty. And I remember saying in 2008 and putting out, it was early LinkedIn days, and putting out a message on LinkedIn. And the message was something along the lines of, there's no such thing as recession in recruitment. Only a recruiter that can't find a market that's buying. And I got lots and lots of stick, as you'd expect, from people saying, I'm having an awful time in this marketplace. I'm having an awful time here. I'm having an awful time there. And I was thinking, maybe it's just me. And then all of a sudden, lots of recruiters start to come out the woodwork. I'm having the best time. I'm having this. I'm having that. I'm having the other. And what I did was I started to contact those recruiters, A, to try and poach them for my business, obviously, and B, to find out what they were doing. And what I found common was the way that they'd structured their business and set up their business. This meant whether the market was in downturn or whether the market was in an upturn, they were always going to have business. So this course was written based on the information gleaned by lots of recruiters who were having their best years ever during lockdown, or during sort of downturn, or as we are at this moment in time in lockdown. So let me go through this, okay? I've added bits to it as we've gone through the years, okay, and created better things to sort of push it further into the modern day. So let's have a look. So what we're going to do, we're going to cover the following things. We're going to cover product. We're going to cover pitch. We're going to cover profile. We're going to cover Publicise and partnership. We're also going to cover process. And all of these things, when you start to add them together, make a very very passionate way of building a business. And it is about passion, because selling is the transfer of enthusiasm. It's the transfer of passion, your passion for your product to the passion, to the client that's buying at the other end, or the candidate that's buying at the end. So we've got to really understand, before we start to build our marketplace, what our marketplace looks like. So I always start, when I'm looking to build a marketplace, I always start with product. And product to me is very straightforward. I start to look at decided on my niche. And I'd look at a niche marketplace. I'd look at a very small part of the market rather than a large part of the market, because I wanted to become an expert. I wanted to look at the areas that would lead me to become a genuine expert in that marketplace. So I'd look at areas that either had a high technical demand, or were very, very entrenched in one geographical area, or was very industry led. And I'd look at those niches, and I was very, very eager to find out what each niche did, why that niche was in that fashion, and what we should be doing within those niches. And I had to sort of look at the niches very straightforward. And so when I was reviewing consultants that were already working and been working for quite some times, what I found was their niche was so wide, and it was really genuinely wide, either too geographically spread, or it was spread across lots of industries, or it wasn't technology led. And so what I started to do was slim their niches down. And once I started to slim their niches down, they started to become an expert in those niches. By becoming an expert in those niches, it meant that they could converse with their clients and their candidates in far more detail about their niche. So it was all about then thinking about doing due diligence on that niche. I wanted to know the number of clients that I could potentially develop in that niche. I really was interested in what those clients looked like. I'd also want to review my client base. So I start to look at my client base. So if you start to look at today and look at your client base now, I'll be reviewing to maybe decide on my niche, which clients give me which type of roles, and which type of roles do I genuinely fill more of more often. And so I do a lot of research into my client base, and I'd have all my roles written out, and I'd taken 50 roles of those on a year, 20 of those, 30 of those, and I'd look at my percentage conversion rate. And it was the high conversion rates, they were the clients I started to look at. They were the niche markets I started to look into. And once I started to gather that, then I started to have a really strong understanding of my client base, all by looking at the data that I'd got. I then had to look at my candidates. I wanted to make sure that I had a marketplace that had candidates. So I'd review my candidate database on my CRM, and I'd review my candidate database on what other products I was using, job boards, etc. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough candidates in that marketplace to actually furnish my clients with product. I'd look at my amount of competition, okay? And I was always interested where there was competition, because where there was competition, there was always a lot of complacent competition. And I can guarantee now there are still a lot of complacent recruitment agencies out there who aren't doing a great deal, which means there's an opportunity for you to look at that marketplace and say, can I take a steal? Can I take a marketplace on here that I maybe not worked on in before, and supply better recruitment methodology to those people, and therefore take more market share than before? I want to look at the longevity. Was there plenty of scope for ongoing development? So is this market like to last a long time, or is it like to be short term? And I started to think about what that would look like. And when I was doing this from a contract point of view, it was very different. But when I started to look at the permanent point of view, I wanted to find markets where I could make lots of money, but I also wanted to find markets that could actually live and I could drive a long-term business strategy into. And there they are, markets I started to really, really look at. And so my product was really important to me. And once I'd done my due diligence, I started to think then about product in a whole new light. And by thinking about products in a whole new light, then I really start to gain a real good understanding of my candidate database. I would always say to any consultant, and those consultants that had 40 odd jobs on, I would say that's great, but you're only filling one or potentially two of those jobs a month, which means a number of things. either the other 38 jobs that you've taken on aren't worth working, and therefore you're never going to fill, so you're just wasting your time trying to impress people by the number of jobs on, or you haven't got a strong enough candidate database to actually fulfill your clients' needs. And once I started to flip the idea, it's not all about jobs, it's about candidates, all of a sudden my consultants started to have a very different view of the marketplace. So when they went niche, what they started to build was candidate databases. And the first place they look at was the CRM. So they went onto the CRM and they started to build compartmentalized candidate databases for my niche. And by building compartmentalized niche databases, what it meant was they could do one thing. And this was the question that I would always ask. You have a candidate out on interview. Where else have you put that candidate? And what it meant was that I had candidates then going for multiple interviews with multiple clients. But it also said, if I had a job, I could say, how many candidates can you get across to that client to fill that job? So I had multiple candidates going for multiple interviews, but also multiple candidates at one client side. So again, I was upping my opportunity of placing my candidates. If I only put one candidate into one position, what that meant was I only had one chance of placing that candidate. But if I had candidates going to 3 or 4 positions, then all of a sudden I had a far better opportunity. I looked at the passive marketplace, okay, and I'd be building that daily, okay, and I wanted to know the passive marketplace intimately. Now, lots of people are talking about the recruitment market at the moment and saying, oh, it must be easy to pick up candidates because there's so many available, because people have been made redundant, etc. Well, let me remind you one thing. When lockdown started, there was that amount of number of candidates in the marketplace. And guess what? There is still that amount of number of candidates in the marketplace. The difference is there was only a small percentage of that number of candidates in the marketplace that were looking for a job. I think it was like 3.5%. There's now just approaching 10% of those candidates are now looking for a job. So all that's flexed is the number of candidates looking for a job. The passive candidates are still 90% the same. Those looking for a job, have slightly increased. So what we've got to start to think of, why are they looking for a job? They're looking for a job because they are not particularly great at what they do and their clients let them go. So what your clients are going to get now is lots and lots of CV submissions from candidates who aren't great at the job. So I'd be starting to think, okay, build a great passive marketplace so you can market great candidates to your clients, not just poor candidates. So active market. Own it. So I'd look to active marketing and I'd own it. I'd want to go out there and build my candidate database. The more I was speaking to my candidate database, the more I owned my candidate database. The more I owned the candidate database, the more I owned the actual full marketplace. It was interesting. I was having a conversation with a client the other day who worked for the S3 group, and we were talking about the competition that we had against each other back in the 90s. It was very interesting. I was at CP at the time and he was at part of S3. They were candidate based and we were client based. And it wasn't until I flipped into more of a candidate database that I suddenly understood the power of the candidate database and how I knew more about the marketplace, and therefore I could get a better product to my client quicker. The difference between us, and this was his comment, not mine, was your service levels were so much better than ours. We just wanted to push a candidate past the post. You wanted to service the client. We started to win from you. You suddenly worked out what we were doing, and you started to regain back and take more. So it's a real interesting sort of to and froing all the time. So CV stripping was really important to us, so we knew where the clients were. I'd interview candidates face-to-face, via video, okay, or over the phone. But I would always interview my candidates. And I worked with a client the other year, and we were talking about why they were having such a poor CV to interview ratio. And it was interesting. The thing that I discovered was when they were interviewing their candidates, that interview would take less than 10 minutes. When I was interviewing candidates for Perm, it'd be taking 40 minutes to an hour to interview a candidate. And therefore, when I could pull the CV together, it more or less got the interview straight away. So interviewing candidates becomes really important. You can now interview via video. So there's no excuse not for spending time to really understand your client base, your candidate base, and developing your candidate base. Okay, so you need to qualify your candidates thoroughly. You need to qualify your candidates properly. Okay, and then market out your top 20% of your candidates daily to your best clients. Market your candidate database. It's interesting. We're going to talk about marketing later on. How much marketing that we do for our clients on LinkedIn, how much we go out on Twitter, etc. But we never actually use our CRM. So we need to be sending daily posts out through LinkedIn, etc. To keep our candidates engaged with what's going on. And what I'm not talking about posts are job posts, how to pass an interview, etc. I'm talking about different types of posts, which again, I'll cover later on. But you need to market to your CRM, industry news, exclusive jobs, because your CRM, you've already paid for it. You've already paid for those candidates. They've come to you somehow. They already know you. So market to them. You need to call your candidate database on a monthly basis. And I always had 200 rolling candidates on that base, okay, that some will drop out, some will drop in, but I was always rolling that marketplace, which meant I was having to refresh my candidate marketplace. It also meant when I went to speak to my permanent consultants, if I said, you have a job here now, name me 5 candidates, they could name 5 candidates instantly that could fill that job and do that job. When I asked for another 5, they could do that too. So we understood our product really, really well. We started to change how we pitched. And pitching is really important, okay? You need to have knowledge. You need to know your marketplace, who to target and who not. And I always think about this, okay? If you're trying to chase every single client, you're going to fail miserably. So target who you want and have a reason why you're targeting them, but also understand who not to target, because you need somewhere to fish from. You need somewhere to headhunt candidates out of. So know your candidate base, whether it's a contingency or a retained operation. Know what you can sell to your clients. So you need to understand your client base even more. Know your candidate base, so you can then use the knowledge that your candidate base gives you to talk back to the client. And the big thing is to know your company's USPs. If you know your company's USPs, then all of a sudden, when you come to that pitch, you shouldn't fail. You must know your features, advantages, and benefits of your USPs to ensure the client buys, not just the feature. We need to start to target clients, okay? And so I would focus on potential cash cows, and I'd look to be upselling constantly to those cash cows, and then also focus on developing cash calves. Not every client is going to be a huge client, and I don't want all my eggs in one basket. So cash calves were really important, but then I started to develop that strong, loyal client database. Clients that would buy from me maybe once or twice a year, or maybe once a year, but they would always come back to me. Why? Because I was always talking to them. I was always helping them. So I would do that type of thing. I'd network my client marketplace. And I would always think, who can introduce me to somebody else? And I've put down here 6 degrees of placement, which is very similar to the 6 degrees of Genghis Khan. They always think that you are only 6 people away from Genghis Khan if you go back into certain things that you know and do. Okay, so think, who in your marketplace and who in your network, those other people that you're trying to break into, can they help you break into them? So I started to get my client base working for me as well as my candidate database. I was never afraid to sack clients. Sack clients that would waste my time, waste my candidates' time, and make me do the job over and over again. If my clients didn't value me, why did I value my clients? So I only worked with clients that I valued. So I need to know my pitch, and my pitch is really interesting. Can you pitch your client your service in 2 minutes? And it's really interesting. It's not just can you pitch in 2 minutes, can you do it with pride, and can you do it with passion? Can you do it that after 2 minutes, your client goes, I want to hear more about that. I want you to tell me more about that. I want to understand more about that. Because if you can't, when you open your conversation with your client is going to switch off very quickly. You should differentiate your service offerings. There is so much recruitment offering out there at the moment. Everyone's offering the same type of thing. Can you differentiate? What is differentiate? What is it the client wants? And we need to think about that. What is it the client wants rather than what we think they want? So if we understand what they truly want, we'll be able to differentiate our service when we come to sell our service. So to build and review your service offerings with your clients constantly. And I always say this, be process proud, but never satisfied. So you need to review your service offerings constantly and change your processes to ensure that your client is getting the best service constantly, not the same service, but an improved service constantly. So pitch is important. So you need to plan your pitches and your business pitches every single day. Plan it, what's going on, so you understand. You need to pitch in blocks. So rather than what lots of consultants do is they pitch a client, then they'll ring a candidate, then they'll do a little bit of admin, then they'll do something else, and they'll pitch another client. Pitch your clients together. Get in the rhythm, get in the focus, get in the mindset, switch everything off so you're purely focused on pitching the clients and have targets, what you want to achieve from those pitches. Look at the number of clients you're going to call. And I always say, between 10 and 12 to me was my pitching time. So I'd say I'm going to make X number of calls in that time. I didn't care how many clients answered the phone. What I wanted to do was make sure I was calling enough clients to make sure enough clients did answer the phone that I could get my pitch across to them. And I prepare for every single call, but I'd be preparing outside that prime selling time. But I knew every single call, I knew what I was going to talk about, and I set goals for every call. I had a reason to call, and having a reason to call is really important. But more importantly, I created a reason to call them back. If I didn't get the sale straight away, I had a reason to call them back, and having that reason to call them back means that I could open up the conversation next time, or I could send something to them, email something to them, show something on LinkedIn to them that would help me have a reason to call them back. And I'd practice my pitch. I practice my pitch every single day. Not only would I practice it to my clients when I'm speaking to my clients, but I'd practice it here. Every time I came off a call, I'd evaluate what went well, what didn't go well. And I'd look at that and I'd then change that pitch and change it in my head. So all the time I was practicing, I was visualizing being successful. Developing your pitch continually is really important. Nothing stays the same. And therefore you need to continually increase your pitch. Look at what's good. And I was fortunate if I was in offices with good recruiters, so I could hear what they were pitching and what they were talking about. And therefore I focused on the good parts of their pitch and added it to mine. Then all of a sudden I started to create a far bigger pitch. And what I did was I learned from every failure. Failure is quite interesting, okay? If you learn from your failure, it isn't failure. It's a learning curve. If you don't learn from your failure and you carry on repeating the same thing, then that's idiotic. So we've got to think about our failures and what we learn from them. And what I learned was to close and close hard. That's not closing aggressively. That means closing properly, giving the client no opportunity to walk away whatsoever. So the big thing when it came to closing was handling objections. So my pitch, I'd understand my objections and I'd practice those objections as well. And what I did was after every call, all my consultants sent their terms and conditions out to every client they pitched. And I wanted to get those terms and conditions signed and returned. Why? Because I wanted to show that there was absolute commitment from the client. And I never let my consultants work clients without signed terms, because too many agencies do that. And I go into agencies a lot and they're still doing that. And guess what? They're getting backdoor placements. Guess what? Clients are dropping out of the recruitment process and trying to pinch their clients. Guess what? It's all because they haven't got commitment and signed terms. Visit your clients on a regular basis. So, profile. Excuse me. Profile is really important when we start to think about the modern day and what's going on. In my day, back in the 90s, okay, profile wasn't important. Why? Because if they wanted to look me up, they had to come and find me to look me up. Okay. But what does your profile look like? Okay. What's it look like from a personal point of view, from a business point of view, and from a company point of view? Because now every time you speak to a client, what's the first thing they're going to do? Look up you on LinkedIn or Google you. And once they start to Google you, they're going to start to find out lots of things about you. So what can they Google you and what can they find out about you? So you need to make sure what they see is professional. What they see is uniform, and what they see is up to date. So what you have on LinkedIn, what you have on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is really important. And I always say that if you didn't want your granny to see it, then you certainly don't want your client to see it. So if you're looking on your personal Instagram account, Twitter account, Facebook account, lock them down. Lock them down solidly so people can't see that. Create a business profile for yourself and have that and work on that. But make sure that they are up to date and make sure they are uniform. Make sure it shows you in the right light. Do not underestimate the power of your profile. And I've seen lots of clients going, I looked at your profile and I just thought you were a cowboy, so therefore we're not working with you. I looked at your profile, etc. And they're not working. So think about what profile does for us. So then we start talking about Publicise. And what Publicise is really important. I'm going to cover this a lot further on. Okay, it genuinely is a modern world. Okay, and I always think about LinkedIn and other areas that we publicize in, and it's very hard to separate who the client and the candidates are. So therefore we need to engage with our audience, and it's an audience of people within our marketplace, whether they be candidates or clients, they are our audience. So you've got to market to the candidates and clients as one. And therefore, if you're marketing how to pass an interview, how to write a CV, you're switching your clients off. If you're just marketing jobs and things like that, then you're switching your candidates and your clients off. But if you're advertising things about the marketplace, if you're pushing things out that says, this is what's happening in our geographical area, this is what's happening in our industry, this is what's happening in our niche, then they all start to read that. And you become the de facto, the person of influence. So don't just post jobs. Post interesting articles, market information, everyday topics of interest, news that's appropriate to your market. But again, this is the other thing that I tend to see. Post daily. And when I mean post daily, I mean get something out on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. daily. So subscribe to industry news feeds and use them. It only takes 5 minutes a day to actually post. So do your posts in the morning, do your posts at lunchtime, etc. It doesn't take long. But remember, if you're posting and you're working in groups of people, get your friends to like your post. Why? Because the algorithm on LinkedIn, more people who like it and comment on it in the first hour accelerates your post, and more people can see that. So make sure you're writing things that people are going to be interested in, and also get your fellow colleagues to like those posts. You'll find it increases so much more. Now I've written here, automate it. LinkedIn, though, has just recently changed its algorithms. And if you automate it, it doesn't like it because it's not you. It's not you being authentic and writing something off the cup. You've all automated something to post out. So we need to think about either automating it or doing it organically. And I think there's a mixture of both for things to do. Okay. But it keeps you in front of your audience, and it keeps in front of your audience daily. So if you think about, you've made a client call and you've had a really good call, and all of a sudden you find an article that is something that you've discussed or something that would be of interest, just think you could post that out on LinkedIn, connect that post to your client, and ask your client to comment on that post. All of a sudden now, we're starting to influence the marketplace. Also, once we start looking for information to post out, it provides you with up-to-date market information and leads, which you can use. The next P is partnership. partnership is really important. Partnership becomes the DNA of your, I suppose, client database that will always keep you busy even during recession time. So you need to connect with influencers into your marketplace. You need to tag them into your social media posts, as I've just taught, but only occasionally. Get them to talk, get them to say things, get them to comment on certain things. Work with them to increase your circle of influence. And it's really interesting when I talk to clients about circle of influence and I talk to recruiters about their circle of influence, they don't understand how to influence that marketplace and what influence they have. So I always think about, if you've got a circle of clients and a circle of candidates, if they're not interlinked, then you're not influencing them. If they're starting to interlink, then all of a sudden you're influencing them more. So what can you do to influence your marketplace? So partnership is really important. You need to partner with your clients. What else can you offer them outside of recruitment? And at the moment, we can offer clients an awful lot. We can offer them advice. We can offer them a sounding board. We can help them with their planning. We can help them with their salary planning, etc., etc. We can help them if they need to make redundancies without placements. You need to partner with your candidates. The candidate journey is really important. Partnering with your candidates means that if you can help a client increase and improve their candidate journey, you can reduce their overall cost of recruitment. So partnership with your candidates and understanding the client's journey, if you're talking to a candidate about X, Y, Z, and they give you the information about that client, use it. Go back to that client. This is what your candidates are saying about your candidate journey. If we can improve this, it will reduce your recruitment time and your recruitment process, reducing your costs. So you need to partner with your marketplace, have meetups, do webinars, etc. So we need to make sure we're doing all of these things. And then we start to work on the final P, which is process. So process becomes really important. You need to learn the basics of recruitment well. And when I started to dig under the bonnet of those recruiters in recession that weren't performing, basically, it was their basics that were poor. They weren't doing enough BD. They weren't doing enough candidate generation. They just hoped the market would come to them. Let me tell you, in this type of market, the market doesn't come to you. You have to go to the marketplace, and therefore you have to drive into that marketplace really hard. Know your target audience before calling. And if you know your target audience before calling, you'll have reasons to call. Therefore, you'll be more successful. Plan each day. Plan each day meticulously and stick to your plan. Only change your plan if something comes that will change your plan. So if your plan is to do BD all day and on the second call you pull a job and it's a job worth working, then stop your plan and work the job. However, if you pull a job and the job isn't worth working, don't hide behind that job. Carry on with your day plan. Be honest about it to yourself. Build a candidate database of at least 200 candidates that you have met and interviewed, and that is really important. Keep interviewing so you have 200 candidates every single month that you have spoken to. That is a really hard job, but not if you know where those candidates are, what those candidates do. The more they speak to you, the more you'll find out about the marketplace. Build a client database. Know who has the potential to buy this month. Are those clients going to recruit this month? In the next 3 months, okay, know your target clients. If you know who's going to buy, you know who to focus on. If you know who's got the potential to buy, you know who to focus on. Stop wasting time calling clients that never pick up the phone. Stop wasting time calling clients that always just talk to you but never actually give you anything. Admit it. You haven't been able to sell to them. That's not a failure. That's just they don't want to buy. Move on. Find somebody else. Know who has big projects out there. Because generally those who have big projects recruit more than others. So we need to be pitching daily. You should refresh your candidate and your client database daily, regularly, constantly. Ask for referrals from your candidates, but also ask for referrals from your clients. Can they refer you to a candidate? Can they refer you to other clients? Learn something new every day about yourself. Learn something that you can improve on. Look at your recruitment process and look at how you can improve that recruitment process. And as I said, learn from your mistakes, but copy experts in your office. If you haven't got experts in your office, then start to think about how you can improve. So if you've got a small office, I'd be saying every day, let's give us one thing that we can improve on. Let's improve by 1% every day. And if everybody's giving that one thing that they can improve on, guess what? All of a sudden, it starts to flow and we start to create areas of improvement constantly. And remember, close, control, close, control, close is so important. The more you control the close, the more you'll control the sale. The least you control the close, the least you'll control the sale. And closing starts right from the moment you open your lips for the first time to that client and to the candidate. Know what makes you money and what doesn't. Too many recruiters spend too much time working with clients that do not make them money. They may sound good, they may give them lots of jobs, but they do not make them money. Stop working those jobs. Stop working those clients and sack them. So review, regroup, and review constantly. Constantly look at your client base, constantly look at your candidate base and get rid of it. So if you know your numbers of how many jobs you need each month to hit your target, how many CVs and how many interviews you need, that's what you're driving for. Always know your numbers. Write a success list every day, not a to-do list. If you write a success list every day, then it will be something that you drive to. So if we start to think, I've just been asked a client by Annette, okay, just a beauty parade. They are not clients. You are right. They are, it's not, you know, I go to lots of consultants and they give me this list of clients and that's their beauty parade. When I say, right, who's buying from you? And there's only one out of the 20 that's buying from you. That's the one that's important. So make sure that you do not create beauty parades of candidates and clients. Make sure you create a beauty parade of those that are actually going to buy from you. So pitching now becomes really important. Knowledge is key. Learn something new every day that you can share personally with your clients. So that means about knowing the marketplace and something to upgrade. Know your clients on a deeper level. Who's your primary target in your client? So think, if you are a salesperson and you're selling to the line, okay, speak to your boss and speak to your directors. Who's selling to the client's directors? How are you increasing your footprint within that client base? So start to develop your client base. Know your niche market landscape. Therefore, when I start to speak to clients about certain roles that they're taking on, I can then start to focus on whether that will be a contingency role, a retained role, or something greater. Look at the niche market landscape. What are your competitors doing? Are they outcharging your client, etc., etc.? Therefore, how hard is it going to be for you to find a candidate for them? So know your landscape. We talked about targeting cash cows, okay, and cash calves. And this is where we start to differentiate our sell. Know the man. Okay, what I mean by know the man is who is the man with the final money, authority, and need? Who's the person that's going to sign everything off? Normally, this is the director, the owner, the C-suite, etc. Okay, know them and make sure you're speaking to them. Develop your sponsor. So if you've got somebody that's in there that's really sort of singing your praises, who else can they introduce you to? How much can they sell you down the line? When we start talking about creating new business and new opportunities, you might be working in a small sector of that client, and they may be able to give you different sectors of business that they can work on. Your sponsor can develop that relationship to the new point of contact by introducing you, that personal touch. So develop your sponsors. Know your clients and know your clients and how much they spend on recruitment. Again, this is so important. If you don't know how much your client is spending on recruitment, you've got no idea how much opportunity you're either walking away from or missing. So think, if you've got a client that's spending 40 grand a year on recruitment and you're only getting 4 grand of it, who's getting the other? Okay. And I can give you a true story where I had a client and a part of my business that I took over for a while, just a very short period of time because it wasn't my area. And they'd done 4 million, four of them, 4 million out of a single client because it was a big key account. I asked them that question. The client had spent 25 million on recruitment and one agency had taken 16 million out of them. Wow. They thought they'd had a good year. Know your client spend on recruitment. We need to start to think about know your internal threats. So is legal, is finance, is the C-suite, is the owners, if you're not speaking to them, are they an internal threat? What are we doing to appease those threats? Know your competition. Know who's in there, what they can offer, and how you can outmaneuver them. Know your external threats. So is the market likely to implode? Who else is coming into that marketplace geographically? You know, are competitors coming into the marketplace? Who's the competitors for staff? Know your internal threats and develop a long-term plan together with your client. We keep talking about this. Recruitment is not a distressed purchase. It is for about 10 to 15% of the recruitment hires made every year. The rest are all planned. So know your recruitment plan with your client. It should be a 12-month plan. Know when they need you and when they need you most. Become sticky. What service complement your standard recruitment model can you offer your client? What other things can you help them with? Might be at this moment in time you can help them training on video platforms. Might be this moment in time you can help them by looking at what their employees are like. You know, do they like working there? Can you do an employee survey with them, etc.? Whatever it is to help them do their job better. What joint ventures can you partner with your clients with? So can you create a joint venture meetup based on one niche? Can you create something that will generate interest in the marketplace and highlight you and your clients so you become more of an influencer? Who can your sponsor introduce you to, which we've talked about an awful lot? So pitch. When we now talk about pitch, we're now talking very much in these terms, and it is very much in these terms. Develop your business pitch. Business changes week in, week out. Develop your pitch. Do not become stale. Pitch up the line. Target clients with defined objectives. Have an objective when you go on and go to hit that objective, but pitch up the line. So if you are talking to one person here, who's the person above them? Who's the person above them? Until you hit the top person. Do not rest on your laurels. Too many people do and fall foul of that. Pitch across the business. We're at the moment, we're talking about, you know, lockdown, extended lockdown, having massive ramifications on businesses. Where one part of the business might not be recruiting, another part might be. But if you're not pitching across the business, landing and expanding, so to speak, then you're not pitching the business. You're only pitching a small part. And how often have I come across companies where they've gone, oh, there's not much going on there, and I suddenly talk to them about a different area, and they go, oh, hang on a minute, I didn't know about that area, and they suddenly find there's an awful lot of recruitment in that area. So we've got to start to think about pitching across the businesses, because it might not be in your niche, but at this moment in time, it might be an opportunity where a client says, I really like working with this agency. If they can find me staff, they might give you more opportunity. So think about growing your opportunity rather than just think about going into a new niche. Create lasting relationships with your threats. C-suite is a threat. HR, back office, legal are all threats because they can all stop you. But if you can smooth the way for these people, so when your director's speaking to their director, they're talking about business, then we can start to think about what's going on. If you can help HR attract better and retain candidates, wow. If you're working with back office, if you can help them solve their invoicing problems quicker, wow, they start to want to work with you. Look for issues that you can solve with your client. Every client has problems. Every client has a different issue. Look for the issues, look for the problems, and look at how you can solve them. It will make you more sticky with the client. If you're the one that can solve their problems, it makes them look good to their boss, to their clients. Always have great candidates. And I know that sounds a bit, a bit of a cheap statement. However, as Annette said, the beauty parade isn't just on clients, it's also on candidates. How many times do we just put a candidate we think looks good across because I had to get a CV across to make myself look good? No, do not put candidates across that are poor. Only pitch great clients to your candidates. That way, clients will trust you more. You can also charge more for it. So we said create joint ventures with your clients, okay? Joint meetups, joint discussions. I was speaking to a client the other day about how she could influence her marketplace. I said, get clients to talk about various different things and invite other clients in. Create a joint venture. Work hard on getting referrals into new clients. The more you're referred into clients, the more opportunity you have to place with the clients. And now we're back to pitch daily. Grow, replace, maintain, grow. We have to meet and pitch daily, because otherwise what happens is we grow, we don't replace, therefore we have to maintain, but what happens is everything falls off a cliff because we haven't grown, maintained and grown constantly. Pitching blocks. We know cash cows are going to take some time to break into. So will cash calves, but we can create cash calves from small clients that we're already dealing with if we know what's going on and we're helping them to develop and helping them to invest. So think about how you pitch. So constantly work on that. Have targets that you want to aim at and work from there. Refine your service offering on a regular basis, which we've talked about an awful lot. We talked about visiting your clients. Clients buy from people they have met. They buy more from people they have met and they like and trust. Clients will trust more people if they've met them in person. So get out and visit your clients on a regular basis. Yes, we are hampered by Corona. Yes, we are hampered by lockdown. Okay, we can meet over Zoom, etc. But let's do the right things and get out and meet our clients on a regular basis. So we flip back to profile. What does your profile attract? And this is a really interesting question. Does it attract candidates? Does it make yourself known to candidates? So when we talk about what we're publicizing, and we'll talk about that again, is what you're publicizing attracting candidates to you? When a candidate reads your profile, do they understand what you actually do? So therefore, they will either follow you, link in with you, send data to you, okay? Make yourself known to clients, and by posting articles every day, you will. Promote your mission to them, not your successes. And that is a really interesting comment. Do you know what your business mission statement is? Do you have your own mission statement? And are you promoting that out to your client? And that is what you're going to do. Your goal is to get people into work. Your goal is to find the best candidates in the marketplace to do this. Are you promoting that out to your clients constantly? Opportunities. Make your mission statement come to life. Opportunities come from what your mission statement is to be the best at this, the best at that, whatever it be. Okay? Make your mission come to life, because if you believe your mission and sell it properly, clients will buy it and buy more from you. So if someone Googled you, what would they see? What's your brand? What's your personal brand look like? Does your personal brand differ from the company brand? It should, to a degree, but it shouldn't be conflicting, and nor should it be belittling, downgrading, or just simply not right for this type of environment. Look at your success, okay? Does your profile show success? Does it give the impression that you are successful, professional? If you have joint major client ventures, how prominent are they on your profiles? Do people see that? Because that attracts other people. So do not underestimate the power of your profile for references and referrals, okay? Enter industry awards or gaining industry accreditation gives you kudos. So if you've got those, make sure you've got them out on your websites and things from there. So now we talk about what we publicize properly. Your successes, okay? But do it in a humble manner. Testimonials, where clients and candidates are named, are really important. Joint ventures that you have with your clients are really important. If you want to really engage your audience digitally, target managers in your niche. Personally, create white papers. We've got so much data on our databases about market trends on salaries, market trends on employment, market trends on who's moving geographically, etc., etc. Okay, extract that data and use it. Use it to send to clients. Use your social conscience. Okay, your social conscience is about what you're doing. What are you doing to help the marketplace? What are you doing free? What are you doing that's giving away? Okay, why are people listening to you? Why do they want to listen to you? And then develop your employee brand. You as an employee are part of your employee brand. You as an employee, if you want to get other great recruiters into your business to build the power of your business, you're part of that. But building your employee brand also attracts clients and candidates because they look at your employee brand and they look at how companies treat their employees, and therefore they want to work with people who they feel treat their employees well. Because guess what? If you've got a really engaged employee, they will give service levels upwards of those that are not well engaged. So attract your competition, okay, with your employee brand. Beat your competition. Knowledge beats ignorance. To beat your competition, you have to know who's out there in the marketplace and what they're doing with your client base, what they're offering, and then you can beat them, absolutely, hands down. So now we go back to partnership. Partnership again becomes work. Work with influencers in your marketplace. Meet them and help them on their journey. If you can help people on their journey and then you know that they can start to influence the marketplace, then things start to happen. And I've worked with lots of clients where they started off as a junior manager, they've gone through to become a senior manager and beyond, they've moved elsewhere. Guess what? They take me with me. Guess what? If I'm then at a trade show and I meet them at a trade show, they introduce me to other people because I've looked after them. So help them on their journey. Interview them. Interview them and publish it. I've been interviewing clients for quite some time and then publishing certain things about them, okay, when I was in the recruitment marketplace. And guess what? Other clients were very interested. So if you're working with big clients, interview them and publish what they say because it will attract other people. Partner with your clients, help them build their circle of influence in the candidate marketplace. Remember, you're the point of contact that they come to, and you're the first point of contact the client candidates meet before they go to the client. So help your client build their circle of influence in that marketplace. How can you improve that candidate journey? And if you can improve that candidate journey, then it improves the PR of that client, which then starts to reduce their overall spend of recruitment. Doesn't reduce your recruitment fee, just their overall spend of recruitment. Partner with your candidates, okay? And we talked about this an awful lot. Help them build or help them build their magnetism to the client in your circle of influence. So if you understand your clients and what your influences your clients, and you know your candidate has that type of thing, then put those two candidate people together. Magnetize them, make them stick together, make them work, okay? And that's not about throwing rubbish candidates at a client just because you think you have to, because you want to get the first candidate past the post. And partner with your marketplace. Meetups and webinars are great, okay? When we can get back to more normal, meetups are brilliant because you can have lots of clients in the room and lots of client candidates in the room, okay? And you can work with them. Like this, there are, I can't remember, I don't know, I can't look at the number now, 60 odd people on this webinar, I think, okay? I can influence 60 people in one go, which is great. So again, doing things for your clients and your candidates on webinars, what webinars could you do for them that would help them with their job? And it takes time to build that audience up, is really important. And now we get back to process. Process. Make your recruitment foundation solid and add more technical skills to your portfolio. This is all about stepping up your skills. You can't step up your skills if you haven't got the basics. You can't sell retained or headhunting services or account development if your basic skills of recruitment are poor. So the more you nail the basics and the more you understand the basics, the more you can sell better processes, the more you can sell more superior product and therefore gain more superior clients and possibly higher fees. Do not underestimate how powerful your sell could be. Have something that your target audience always wants, whether that be candidates or clients. So if it's clients, you have to know the candidates there and then. If it's candidates, you have to have clients there and then. So know your audience really, really well and always have something that they need. That way you can always get it. At the moment, there's a big thing about employing people. You might not have a job ready for them at the moment, but if the right person, behavior and skill-wise, comes along, can you create something? Don't miss the opportunity to create good people. Plan each day and focus on that 80-20 rule. If 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients, focus on that 20%. How much more can you get from there? Target those clients and then find clients that look like those clients. Same with candidates. If the same jobs, you're filling the same jobs over and over again, okay, find more candidates that look like those clients and target them. Target calls into those type of people constantly to grow that opportunity. Know your candidate database intimately, and as we said, keep it really fresh and develop your client database daily. That is daily calling. Okay, know the client's buying cycles. You should know each month a minimum of 10 clients that are likely to buy from you. That's not saying that they are going to buy from you, but they've talked about the opportunities of working together on certain jobs. Know their buying cycles. Know if in 3 months' time they're going to be doing this, 6 months' time they're going to be doing this, 7 months' time they're going to be doing this. Know their cycles. Know when they need you so you can call them properly. Have clients to replace those whose cycles are ending, and that stops the boom and bust of perm. If you suddenly look at your data and look at all the clients you're speaking to, and you go, right, no candidate, 3 clients in January are going to be calling, 5 in February, 12 in March, none in April. You know you've got to do some work on April and January because there's not enough clients in there. So always look at who's replacing. Always make sure you've got clients on the go. Do not just leave it until last minute because that creates boom, then a massive bust straight away. Know who needs developing to a different level. So you'll have clients that are looking good. Can you develop them to a different level, to a cash cow, to a retained business, to a recruitment service? What can you give them? Know that who needs developing and who you need to speak to about that development. Because I can tell you now, if you don't develop them, somebody else will, and then you'll lose the client. It's like the clients who do not give you any commitment. This isn't a marketplace where you can spend time just working clients just for the sake of working clients. No commitment, do not work. Build personal and business relationships that last with your clients and your candidates. And this is what I always talk about with clients. So I always think that this is time and money. Okay, and I share this graph quite a lot. 20% of your time, okay, you need to review that 20% of time. You need to review that 20% or sack, get rid of them. The 80% in the middle are the clients that you should be working with, developing. How would you work that? And that 20% that makes the money, okay, you need to develop and expand. We need to make sure that we're driving all the way up to the top. So process becomes really important to understand what our market looks like. So look at your data. You may have a client that you think is brilliant, but actually when you analyze it, you're sending 30 CVs to get 2 interviews to get 1 placement. That's not brilliant. That's daylight robbery from the client and stupidity from yourself. But yet I still see lots of candidates and consultants that work in that way. So process, pitch daily, Know the difference between urgent and strategically important. What is urgent is pitching daily. Sorry, what is urgent is filling jobs. What's strategically important is pitching daily. So look at the jobs that you're filling. Are they genuinely urgent, or should you be spending time strategically pitching clients? And to me, there's a blend of both, but you should be pitching clients daily. Get your sponsor to introduce you to new buyers all the time. That was my big success. Learn from your mistakes to remain a higher biller. Do not get comfortable with your cash cow. Again, how many times have I seen people do this? Have one or two really big clients that's giving them all their work. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. The client's never going to leave me. They love me, etc., etc., etc. And guess what? Next time I see them, they're crying because their client stopped working with them or something's happened to that client, okay? You need to make sure you have more clients constantly. Never be that person with one egg and one basket. And that's where control, close control comes in. Yourself, you need to control yourself. Do not become success blind. Just because you've got a successful desk doesn't mean to say it will remain successful unless you work hard at the basics of pitching daily, replacing clients, and building your candidate database. If you don't, then you'll have boom and bust, and what you'll have is you'll have bigger busts than you do booms, and that's not good. Review your client and candidate activity monthly and quarterly. Look for trends, identify opportunities early, and address them early. So if you know what your client base is doing because you've been asking them rather than thinking everything is just an actual distressed purchase, then you'll start to really push on and push on really hard. Okay, KPIs, you need to become the key person of influence in your marketplace. So to finish and conclude, conclusion is very simple. Product, you must build your product based. Pitch, you must know your market and pitch to it daily. Profile, in this day and age, your profile is really important. Publicise, the power of social media can build your reputation as quickly as destroying it. Partnership, partner with influencers. And process, make your process foolproof, constant, or constantly refine it. So that is how I've built permanent desks that yield in excess on average of 200K per person. Using this process, I have had consultants billing in excess of £500,000 new business. There is a client, although I put no success to this, but doing something very similar, a consultant in America, doing something very similar to this, and he's billing $2 million a year, all based on basic principles. So if you want to build big, get your basics right, follow the principles, and build a solid foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, that's it. That's the end of today's session. I'd like to thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. If you've got anything that you wish me to train you on next week, again, feel free to drop me a line on that and I'll look at what we've got. If not, then I will just pick something out of my bag of tricks. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending. It's been great again. Look forward to seeing you all again next week. Have a super Wednesday and have a great finish to the end of the week.